everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a Beth Harmon inspired 60s lookbook. So this is just going to be my take, aka like what I would wear if I were in the show. A lot of the outfits are inspired by outfits that Beth does have on screen, and others are just some that I put together that kind of fit the vibe and the time period of the 60s and the Queen's Gambit.
This video has barely started and already I feel the need to make a disclaimer. I cannot and will not promise historical accuracy throughout this video. I did take inspiration from both the show and the time period, but in order to cut down on wastefulness, I did not purchase anything that I would only wear once for this video, and I repurposed a lot of things already existing in my closet. Not to mention, I am on a student's budget. I purchased almost all of these items with my own money, so please excuse any historical discrepancies or missing articles of clothing. I either made the conscious decision not to purchase them because I knew I wouldn't wear them again, or I just didn't have the budget to fit everything I wanted in this video. So please understand and don't roast me in the comments.
With that being said, let's get on with the lookbook. You may have noticed that Beth Harmon's wardrobe in the Queen's Gambit consists of a lot of neutrals like black and white and geometric patterns such as checkers or stripes to kind of represent a chessboard. This outfit ties in black and white elements with a more square rectangular silhouette for this top, which is very 60s. It's very simple, very chic, and I can totally imagine Beth wearing this during the show. This outfit is pretty much the same as the last one, except I switched out the top for this cream-colored collared blouse, which I think reminds me so much of the shirts that Beth has worn throughout the show, especially with this line detail around the collar and the pockets. Just like the last one, I think this outfit is just quintessentially Beth Harmon in her natural state. A very chic, classic blouse and trouser combo that looks effortlessly elegant. Alright, so here's yet another blouse and trousers combo. I purchased this blouse specifically for this video because I thought it gave off the perfect vintage dream vibes. I really love this collar detail and these sleeves.
I didn't realize I recorded so little commentary for this. I guess I just didn't have that much to say about this outfit.
Okay, hear me out. This is one that I know I might get roasted on because of the cheetah print. I actually found this dress at the thrift. It is by the brand Apartment 9. I really love this shirt dress and I love the silhouette. It definitely does remind me of the 50s and 60s with the girly, flowy skirt and the blouse-like top with the tie waist. Long story short, it was just too good to pass up, even with the cheetah print.
And now a break from your regularly scheduled programming to show you a highly necessary tier list of all the characters that mattered, at least, in the Queen's Gambit. Before we begin, I think it's necessary for me to explain my tier system. First up, we have Nimrod, basically an all-around douche. Not necessarily an antagonist, but basically just someone whose character was awful, completely hateable, go girl, give us nothing. Next up on the tier we have Green Pills, characters I did not like, but I recognize their importance to the plot. Like midway through the season, I was getting real sick of those darn little green pills, but I did understand their importance to the plot. Next up, the I owed him $10 tier. This is what Beth said at Mr. Scheibel's funeral, and this is probably the hardest tier to explain. The best I can describe this tier is, Beth says that she owed Mr. Scheibel $10 only at his funeral. She didn't remember it throughout most of her career. Basically, these are the characters that are pretty much forgettable except for at one certain point in the show. The next tier is Put Me in the Open. This is something Beth says to the twins when she's registering for her first chess tournament. Basically just very iconic, necessary to the show, all around likable. Finally, the top tier, You Are a Marvel, My Dear. Pretty self-explanatory, basically just best of the best characters and my personal favorites. Okay, now let's move into the rankings themselves. First up, we have Cleo. She's one of Benny's friends, and she's a fashion model that travels between countries frequently. This might be controversial to a lot of people because fan theories say that she was actually a Russian spy that the Soviets sent to throw Beth off her game, but honestly, ignoring all of that, I thought she was totally a girl boss and she belongs in the You Are a Marvel, My Dear tier. I will not take criticism on this one. Next up, we have, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on his name, and that's exactly how forgettable this character is. Okay, I remembered it. Harry Beltic. Out of all of Beth's love interests / close relationships, he was definitely the blandest.
Where's the flavor? Where's the flavor in this? I don't taste anything.
He was nowhere near her league, and both of them knew it. He was a jerk when she first played against him in that tournament, and he ended up just being really mid throughout the rest of the season. For that reason, I'm putting him in green pills. Next up, we have Alma Wheatley. She was Beth's adoptive mother in the series. Unfortunately, she had a debilitating drinking problem, which ultimately led to her untimely death. There were also times during which she wasn't the best mother and she made some irresponsible choices, but overall, she was a very nurturing mother to Beth, and she was supportive of her throughout her entire chess career. I really loved watching the relationship between Alma and Beth throughout the show, and it was one of my favorite female relationships in the Queen's Gambit. For that reason, Alma is going in the open. Next up, we have the Queen herself, Beth Harmon. Now, there is so much to say about this chick. She is the titular star of this show, and in addition to her iconic one-liners throughout the show, she was just generally very enjoyable to watch. Though she did have quite a few flaws, she was selfish, she didn't have the best social skills, sometimes she would use others for her own benefit, and of course she struggled with a substance use issue throughout the show, which of course isn't necessarily a character flaw, but it did make her all the more human. The show definitely wouldn't have been what it was without Beth, and of course this video is inspired by her iconic outfits, so I'm putting her in the open. Next up, we have the twins, Matt and Mike. In the beginning, they grossly underestimated Beth at her first tournament when they were checking her in. However, throughout the series, they grew to become good friends and followed her throughout most of her career. Sure, they were kind of the comic relief characters, but overall they were pretty good people. However, they didn't really have a show-stopping quality or anything that really stood out to me about them, so for that, I'm putting them in I owed him $10. Next up, we have the intimidating Borgov. Now this guy, he was super good at chess, and no one could deny that. Honestly, we don't know that much about him, although generally I don't think he's a bad person. I think chess is just his job, and he plays to win. He effortlessly beat Beth at the tournament in Paris, although admittedly she did show up extremely hungover. However, in my opinion, I think it was intentional that she wasn't at the level she needed to be to beat him at that time in her career, even if she were sober. The show does show a couple of tender moments between him and his family, so for that, I'm putting him in I owed him $10. Not a bad guy, even though he was the antagonist of the show. While we're on the subject of chess opponents, next up is this kid, and I honestly have to look up his name because I can't remember it. Basically, his character was an example of yet another chess prodigy, but he played against Beth, and he was actually so formidable of an opponent that they had to adjourn. He generally seems like a pretty nice kid. I'm pretty sure he was between 12 and 14, and he had no real discernible personality, but I do remember he wanted to see a drive-in movie. He was friendly to Beth, even though she wasn't a good sport during their matches. Overall, I really don't know that much about this kid, so I can't put him in a high or low tier, but I will put him next to Borgov in I owed him $10. Hopefully he realizes one day that there's more to life than chess. Next up, we have the very hateable Mr. Wheatley. Alston overall was just a complete jerk, an awful husband to Alma, a terrible father to Beth, and just kind of a scumbag. He didn't take any responsibility after Alma's death, and though he promised the estate to Beth on a phone call, once it came down to it, he refused, because he's a dirtface. Awful human being. He's a Nimrod. Alright, so as we get to the end, you may notice that this tier chart is generally falling within the bell-shaped standard distribution. However, the last 3 characters will definitely screw it up because honestly, I think in this show there were more characters that I liked than disliked, and I found myself rooting for their success along the way. Frankly, even though a lot of these characters were painted as antagonists, I think they had a lot of redeemable qualities, and I appreciate the fact that the show wasn't quite so black and white as to paint them as strictly a villain. Of course, examples of this being Cleo and Borgov. Next up, we have Benny Watts, the pirate, the guy who constantly carries a knife around for a reason that was never addressed in the show, and I'm still curious. Anyway, in a lot of ways, this show painted him to be Beth's male equal. He was a brilliant chess player, and pretty much the only one besides Borgov that was even close to her level. In a lot of scenes, he was honestly kind of a jerk, but you gotta admit, the guy had charisma. I thoroughly enjoyed every scene he appeared in, and while he wasn't exactly boyfriend material, I still really enjoyed his character. Benny Watts is going in the open. And maybe that's because I'm biased. I do love Thomas Brodie Sangster. Alright, the end of this video is saved for the elites. The S tier is gonna be stacked. Next up, we have one of my favorite Albert Einstein looking characters. This is Luchenko, and Beth plays against him in Russia. He was a renowned chess player back in his prime, and clearly the guy still got it. He's a total gentleman to Beth during their match, and at the end, of course, he says, "You are a marvel, my dear," which is one of the most heartwarming moments in the show. He genuinely respected Beth's ability as a player and took his loss very gracefully. For that reason, of course, he has to go in his own tier. Next up, we have Mr. Scheibel. Now, he's the one that taught Beth how to play chess at the orphanage when she basically had nothing else to do. I honestly think that him teaching her chess saved her life. Maybe not in the literal sense, but it gave her something to do and something to focus on while she was in the orphanage. He believed in her talent from day one, and he took time out of his day to teach a young orphan girl chess. I was really disappointed that he died before he and Beth could reunite, but I am glad that she got to see that collage of all her accomplishments in the basement when she went back to Methuen. Of course, Scheibel's going into the top tier. This guy deserves only the best. And finally, to conclude this impromptu tier list that you didn't ask for, what was this video again? Oh yeah, a lookbook. I completely forgot. Anyway, the last character we will be reviewing is Jolene. Now put some respect on this girl's name. She was my favorite character in the entire show, and I love how she wasn't just that tokenized guardian angel character. She was such a good friend to Beth, and she kept it real the whole time. She funded Beth's trip to Russia once she was out of money, not just out of the goodness of her heart, but because she knew that Beth would eventually pay it forward. She defied all expectations of her after her childhood and is studying to become a lawyer. She never gave up on Beth, and every scene she was in, she just completely stole the show. I really wish she got more screen time. Jolene, best girl, you are a marvel, my dear. That concludes the tier list. No, I will not be taking criticism. Now let's get back to the outfits and what you probably clicked on this video for.
If you're completely sick of seeing these trousers in every look, I definitely don't blame you. But in my defense, they're just so versatile and great for these 60s looks, and this look is no exception. I'm completely obsessed with this little pink cardigan that I found at the thrift store. After checking the tag after I bought it, it's actually 100% silk. I really love all these little buttons and this kind of scalloped edge. And yeah, there's not all that much to say about this look. It's the same trousers, the same shoes, but just a different top combo. Gee, Lily, you're so original. Thank you for that astute observation, viewer. Don't worry though, these next few looks are without these pants. So here is yet another thrifted item. This dress is a little bit big for me, but I grabbed it anyway because of its striking similarity to a lot of dresses that Beth wore throughout the show. It's got all the essential elements of any killer Beth outfit. Color blocking, a neutral color scheme, and the vibe that I could rip your head off if I wanted to. You can definitely pair it with a blazer or a coat. Also, as you can see throughout the video, my hair has been getting more and more disheveled with every outfit change. Try to ignore that. This final outfit consists of this asymmetric wool skirt from Jing that I am completely in love with. It's so comfortable, and I really love all of the asymmetric color blocking all around the skirt. The rest of the outfit is a black turtleneck, nothing special. And then I tied together the look, no pun intended, with this checkered silky scarf, also from Jing, that was kind of a struggle to tie, to be honest. I really love how this final outfit turned out. It integrates color blocking, neutral color palettes, and a chessboard-esque aesthetic. My hair is really not doing too good, so it might be a good time to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been a long time in the making. It's been 1 or 2 months that I've been thrifting, shopping online, gathering items for my closet, and putting together outfits. All of the items that I purchased online shown in this video will be linked in the description box below in case you want to check them out. I will not earn any commission from them since I'm still a small YouTuber, but maybe one day we'll get there. Let me know if there's any other lookbooks that you would like to see in the future. I really never know what to say during my outros, so I should probably just cut my losses and stop rambling and end it right here. See you guys next time. Did you know that cicadas can reach volume levels of 100 decibels, which is the same noise level as standing 3 feet away from a lawnmower? The more you know.